Rob, what is our first main topic today?
Well, John, the first topic comes from Clint Lamberson. Hi, John and crew. I just read that Deadline is reporting that Supernatural prequel series is in development with the CW, with Jensen and his Danneel working on the show. The series, is that his brother?
I think his wife.
And his wife. I was like confused. The series will be focused on John and Mary, with Dean narrating the series in the vein of How I Met Your Mother. Love the show. Thanks for being on The Filthy with Holy Water. Well, Clint, I'm glad you like that. Now, John, I got to tell you, I heard this story. I was like, I mean, I always say on my show that in Hollywood, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. But it seems odd to me that you have two actors that work together for 15 seasons.
Well, hold on a second, Rob. You're getting ahead of the story here. Now you're getting ahead of it. Like that's part 2 of the story, right? Like,
oh, okay. Well, then, okay. You know what? You're right. I won't get into my. Let me just say that yes, there is a Supernatural prequel series in development. How about that? And I have to say, John, I was kind of taken aback by this. You'd think after 15 seasons, an apocalypse that happened in like season 4, and then they kept it going for another 11 seasons. This has to be one of the most resilient television shows in history. I think people would want to hang it up and take a long, well-deserved vacation. But oh no, John, there's going to be a prequel series about the boys' parents. According to Deadline, here's what we know. Supernatural, one of the most important series in the history of the CW, is eyeing a comeback with a new iteration prequel, The Winchesters. And I have to say, that's a pretty good title for a show.
It is.
John. Centered on Dean and Sam Winchester's parents. The project, now in development at the network, is executive produced by Supernatural star Jensen Ackles, who will also reprise his Dean Winchester character as a narrator of the new show, and Ackles' wife, Supernatural recurring guest star Danneel. Wow, John. I mean, this is pretty. Who would have thunk? Like, I'm like, wow. But you know what? You get while the getting's good. So I can't fault anybody for creating a show that's actually going to get on the air. Let me just say, getting anything made in Hollywood these days is a feat. So congratulations to the new crew and cast of this show, and congratulations to, of course, Jensen Ackles. But let's just leave it there. Yes, there's a new Supernatural prequel series.
Well, I mean,
how about that?
You're right. First of all, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Like, they tried to do 2 other spinoffs. They tried to do Supernatural, The Wayward Sisters, and then there was another spinoff they tried to do, and I cannot remember the name of that spinoff right now. By the way, Taylor Haywood and Hosea XCI will both send in super chat badges in the live chat. Thanks for that, guys. And if you guys in the live chat remember the name of that other spinoff they were going to do, I can't remember. Oh, and I got Jensen Ackles speaking to me here. I can't remember what the name of it. There was The Wayward Sisters, and there was another one, Bloodlines. Thank you. Devontae Brown is the first person to put that in the live chat, Bloodlines. So they tried to get 2 other ones done before, and they just weren't able to get them going for whatever reason. I was actually very interested in the Wayward Sisters ones. At any rate, you guys all know I'm a huge Supernatural fan. I loved this show. I watched every single season of it. I even loved the final season, all that kind of stuff. But there's an interesting twist that, Rob, you began to allude to a little bit earlier. There's an interesting twist to this story. Because, Rob, one of the key elements of success for Supernatural has been that there's been this incredible relationship between the show and its audience. And one of the key things of that relationship has been not only the incredible bond between the brothers in the show, but the bond between Padalecki and Ackles off camera. Like, they were in each other's wedding parties. Their friendship is like one of the things that the audience really connected with, that they had this great friendship off camera. Rob, as he started to allude to, shortly after Jensen Ackles got on Twitter to announce that they were doing this new Winchester show and he's producing, he's going to be narrating it, his partner in crime, Jared Padalecki, who of course played Sam Winchester, he got on Twitter and replied to Jensen and says, "Hey man, I'm super happy for you." Let's actually go and see what he actually said. "Dude, I'm happy for you. but I wish I heard about this some other way than Twitter. I'm excited to watch, but I'm bummed that Sam Winchester had no involvement whatsoever. Now, a fan then kind of hinted and suggested that Jensen was joking, or that Jared was joking, but he went on to say, no, it's not a joke. This is the first I've heard about this, and I'm gutted. Now, Rob, normally I don't care about TMZ nonsense. Oh, two stars don't like each other, or oh, whatever. But this is a little bit different because, again, I think one of the core things about the success and the popularity and the resiliency of Supernatural is that connection between the audience and the show. And a part of that connection has been the fact that these guys have at least passed themselves off for the last 15 years as best friends, wedding in each other's wedding parties, all these sort of stuff. And look, let me say this right now. Jared Padalecki has no right to be involved in this project. You know, it's not like he is owed or he's entitled. He was an actor in the show. He was more involved in that to some degree, but he's not entitled to be a producer or involved in this new show. But to find out that the guy who has done this show with you for 15 years, to discover as a fan that he didn't even know about this until it was tweeted out. Like, it is possible, Rob, here theoretically, that I found out about this before Jared Padalecki did. And there's just something that feels dirty about that. And again, under most circumstances, I would say, whatever, this is just TMZ stuff, but it goes to the core that I think of the Supernatural fan base. And if this is not a joke, and if Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles aren't just like propagating some kind of joke, which there is still a chance they may be, but if we don't find out that ultimately this is just kind of a gag that they're pulling, it's going to leave, I think, a pretty bad taste in the fans' mouths. And if it's a bad, Rob, you know this, if it's a bad taste in the fans' mouths, this show is dead before it ever gets going, because this entire concept relies on that core fan base. So I don't know, Rob, let me ask you this. Like, you're reading this, is it possible, given how tight these guys are supposedly are off camera, that this is all just a joke? And if it's not a joke, could this affect the fan base to the degree that it could threaten this show even getting made? I don't know. How do you see it?
Well, I think, definitely, if nothing else, there's much money involved producing a TV show. And normally, you would get people that were involved in a show like this get cash. And if it runs as long as the original Supernatural runs, John, we're talking millions of dollars that's potentially at stake here for somebody who is or isn't involved. Either way, they could make millions or not get millions. So it could be that this show was developed and maybe people were just waiting to bring other people in and didn't say anything. And this information wasn't supposed to be released yet, which I could see. I could believe that could be on the agenda, that, you wait until things are going down. Maybe that it was, of course, I'm going to involve my co-star. We're not there yet. I was going to bring him in. I've developed this show, and it was after all, it was his idea. You solidify your position. And then I think, of course, there might be something going on here and that we don't know about. But like you said, I do think that if we have one of the cornerstones of this very franchise, when the other cornerstone creates a brand new show and leaves your other cornerstone out in the cold, that's really not cool for a show that has such audience engagement. I think it could be very damaging to this franchise. And I don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand it, to be honest.
It's two different things to say. Should Padalecki be involved versus they didn't even give him a heads up that it was happening? And I think that's going to rub a lot of the fans the wrong way. Now, let me say this too. Let me say this as well. I am also not a fan of how Padalecki managed this. Like, if you've got an issue or a problem with somebody, sack up, pick up the phone, and you call them. It kind of doesn't sit right with me either that Jared Padalecki would decide to air out the dirty laundry in public on Twitter for everybody. Again, which maybe makes me half suspect that maybe this is all a big joke. But, and again, I don't know that, but there's so much about this that just rubs me the wrong way. The fact that a guy who was involved in the show for 15 years wasn't even told that it was happening before the public found out. But then that same guy, instead of just picking up a phone and calling somebody, getting on Twitter, which listen, I'll be straight up with you. That is the weak man's path, is hop on Twitter and start airing out the grievances openly. I don't know. It's very disappointing. As a big Supernatural fan, a lot about this is very disappointing, especially when we just should be celebrating, if we're Supernatural fans, at the fact that we're going to get a Supernatural spinoff. That's what we should be talking about. Instead, we're left to talk about this. And again, I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed and hope that this is a bit of a joke. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this whole situation? Are you excited that there's a new show, The Winchesters, coming? Are you kind of put off by the fact that Sam and Dean seem to have bad blood now and they're parted ways? I mean, I don't know. How are you guys feeling about it? Jump on down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys.